You don't remember the first time you held a gun that wasn't yours. That's the point. They want it that way. You were 23. Maybe 24. The city was Rotterdam, or it might have been Antwerp. The ports blur after a while, all salt and diesel and grey water. You were given a phone number, a room key, and a jacket 2 sizes too large. The jacket had a pocket sewn inside the lining. You understood what the pocket was for without being told. That was the first test. Understanding without being told. The room smelled like chlorine and old cigarettes. The mattress had a plastic cover. You slept on top of it, fully dressed, for 11 days before anyone contacted you again. You were a courier first. Always a courier first. Phase 1. The entry. The packages were small. Sometimes cold. You didn't open them. You moved through train stations the way water moves, finding the path of least resistance, never stopping long enough to reflect anything. Brussels to Zurich. Zurich to Lyon. Lyon to somewhere that didn't appear on the maps they gave you, which were paper, always paper, never digital. You were paid in cash. Exactly €600 per month. You ate from vending machines and corner shops. You counted the money each time, not because you needed to, but because the ritual made the days feel sequential. Without it, weeks would dissolve. At 6 months, a man sat across from you in a cafe and ordered nothing. He had the kind of face you forgot while you were still looking at it. He slid a photograph across the table. He didn't say a word. You studied the photograph for 40 seconds. You slid it back. He left. 3 days later, the subject in that photograph died of what the papers called a cardiac event. You had nothing to do with it, not directly. You had only confirmed the address. That's how it begins. Not with violence. With confirmation. Year 2, you confirmed addresses. Year 3, you confirmed schedules. Year 4, they gave you a different jacket. This one fit. The promotions were paperless. There were no titles, no handshakes, no ceremonies. One day a task arrived with more steps than usual, and you completed those steps, and then the next task had more steps still. Complexity was the only rank structure you'd ever know. By year 5, you were present at the moment itself. Not pulling anything, just present. A second set of eyes, a contingency. You stood 40 meters away in a parking structure in Dusseldorf on a Tuesday in February. The temperature was -4 degrees. You counted 6 cars. You noted the time, 11:17 a.m. You watched a door open. You watched a door close. That was all. You drove back to the apartment. You boiled water for tea. You didn't think about what happened in the parking structure, because there was nothing to think about. You had done your part. Your part was geometry and timing. By year 7, the geometry was yours to design. There are rules you were never given in writing. You do not use the same city twice in 8 months. You do not contact anyone who contacts you first. You do not carry identification that belongs to you. The person it belongs to exists on paper in a country where you've never lived. You pay for everything in cash, or in a currency that isn't cash but functions like it. You maintain 3 phones. Each phone knows a different version of you. You file nothing, save nothing, photograph nothing. The work leaves no signature. That is not an ethical standard. It is a professional one. The distinction matters. When the system requires something unusual, a location that breaks the 8-month rule, a contact chain that loops back through someone you've already used, you find the path that technically honors the constraint while practically voiding it. This is called procedural flexibility. You heard someone say that once, and you've thought about it every year since. Procedural flexibility, the cleanest euphemism you've ever encountered for something that has no clean name. You've been paid, in total, approximately €1.4 million across 9 years. The number means less than you expected it to. Your sister calls on the 15th of every month. You answer approximately half the time. The other half, you listen to the voicemail the next morning with coffee. Her voice always sounds like she's expecting you to have news. You never do. Or rather, the news you have isn't the kind that translates. A woman you met in Lisbon in year 6 stayed in your life for 14 months, longer than anyone else. She thought you worked in logistics. You did, in a way. The relationship ended not because of a single event but because of the cumulative weight of your unavailability, which he described, near the end, as a kind of emotional offshore account, present on paper, inaccessible in practice. She was more precise about you than you've ever been about yourself. Somewhere around year 8, you noticed that you had stopped missing things. Not the Lisbon woman specifically. Just things in general. The desire to miss something had quietly packed its belongings and left while you were in a car park in Tallinn watching a door. You weren't sad about it. That was the part that should have worried you. The target knows you and not your name. Not your file number. Not your 3 phones, but he saw you in Frankfurt, and he saw you in Gdansk, and now he's looking at you across a hotel lobby in Riga, and the recognition in his eyes is the clearest thing you've seen in 9 years. He doesn't run. He sits down at the lobby bar and orders 2 drinks and looks at the empty stool beside him. You stand at the elevator bank for a long time. The numbers above the elevator count up, count down. A family with luggage rolls past you. A concierge answers a telephone. The lobby smells like cedar and recycled air. You sit down. He pushes one of the drinks toward you. You don't touch it. He says, "I've been trying to understand what I did." You say nothing. He says, "Was it the port? Was it the money? Or is it something I don't know about?" You say nothing. He looks at the drink you haven't touched. He says, "I think you're tired." Not of him. Not of the task. Not of Riga or the recycled air or the cedar smell. Of the shape your life has taken. The geometry you designed. The procedural flexibility. The offshore account of yourself that you've been managing for 9 years with perfect discipline and absolute loss. You stand up. You walk to the elevator. You press the button for the 6th floor. You do not complete the task. 3 days later, a different person arrives in Riga. The target is found on the morning of the 4th day. The papers say natural causes. They usually do. You receive a final transfer, €47,000, which is the balance of what you were owed, and nothing more. No explanation. No exit interview. The phone associated with your most current identity stops receiving messages. Then it stops working entirely. You are in a rented room in Tallinn. The mattress has a plastic cover. You sit on top of it, fully dressed somewhere. A phone number is being written on a piece of paper. A room key is being placed in an envelope. A jacket is being folded, slightly too large, with a pocket sewn into the lining. Someone 23 years old, maybe 24, is picking it up. They don't open the pocket yet. But they will understand it without being told. That's the first test. The city is probably Rotterdam. Or maybe Antwerp. The ports blur after a while. Then